Welcome to Business Chats with Debbie, where we talk big stories for small businesses. I'm your host, Debbie Wolverton, and today my guest is Donna Morcom from Sekoya. I've been meaning to get you on for ages, and we've actually got together. So Donna is a HR and employment law specialist, and I bet you're really busy at the moment after what I've read in the newspapers.
I have to be honest, I don't think we've ever been busier. The beginning of January went a bit quiet, and I was a little bit like, this is a bit scary. Yeah. I must admit, I took to the gin and thought, actually, I know we're going to talk about furlough, but I didn't get any furlough. So I thought, I'm going to have a couple of weeks where I'm like just chilling out a little bit. No, that was a really bad idea.
Yeah, because it's now full whammy.
Oh yeah, totally full whammy. I mean, I've got 2 settlement agreements to do before 5 o'clock today. Not entirely sure how I'm going to find time to do that.
You always do though, don't you? Do you know what I mean? That's the problem when you run your own business. Yeah. It's not a 9 till 5 job. It's a 9 till 8, 9 till 10. Or possibly in my case, I'm normally in at 6:30. So it's normally 6:30 onwards.
Yeah, absolutely. And no one tells you that when you start a business, do they?
No.
They don't say to you, oh, by the way, clients will phone you on a Sunday morning when you've been out the night before and expect really good quality legal advice. No one tells you that.
I must admit, I do stop at boundaries, do you know what I mean? We close at 3 o'clock on a Friday, and if anyone rings my mobile, a client, after 3 o'clock on a Friday, I'm like, no.
No, don't say that, because Emma's my award-winning operations director. Emma will be insisting we close at 3 o'clock on a Friday.
I think Jay, you were trying for that, weren't you, when I first mentioned it, 3 o'clock, and she was like, no, don't mention it. So, yeah, do you know what I mean? Just looking at the press, the amount of claims going through at the moment for unfair dismissal. Yeah. I just don't, do you know what I mean? As a business owner and people who employ staff, do you know what I mean? You don't know the ins and outs. That's why you need a specialist in HR, because that's what you do.
Absolutely.
And do you know what I mean? We do have a HR company, which I'm coming to the end of the contract with at the moment, and we had a chat yesterday.
Obviously. But best in town.
I always go to them. Do you know what I mean? If someone's playing up, I always go to them and say, look, what is the procedures I need to go through?
Absolutely.
Because if you don't, then you just go into court before you, do you know what I mean?
Before you know it. And actually, the thing for me is that also, if you're getting advice, follow it. Quite often I give advice and then something goes horribly wrong and they go, I said, did you actually follow the advice I gave you? Well, what I did was... The thing is, I didn't actually get to have that conversation because I sat there and I thought about it, and then the more I thought about it, the more nervous I got, and so then I didn't have the conversation, and then so I just sent the letter. Right, okay, that's not the advice I gave you though, is it? And they're like, oh, I know, but it was all a bit scary. I'm like, that's okay. I can come and do that conversation if you find it a bit scary. It is scary,
do you know what I mean? If you've got to the point where you at the end of the day, you've got an emotional connection with that person anyway, because they're an employee. Yeah. It's like when you're chasing debt money. Yes. When you're chasing somebody because they owe you money, you've got that emotional connection because they're a client, and you don't want to upset that balance.
Absolutely.
So it's always best to try and get somebody who does that job.
Absolutely.
So, do you know what I mean? That's why it's always best. But not to do it on your own and try and wing it, because that's when it goes drastically wrong.
It is, and that's what I'm trained for.
And it can cost you an absolute arm and a leg.
Well, and unfortunately, that's the situation that we've got with some of our clients at the moment. And even if you've gone through all of the correct procedures, you followed all the advice, you've got it all, you've ticked all the boxes, you've been commercial about it too, because not every decision around employing people is legal. It's some of those decisions are just commercial decisions. And sometimes we have to step away from the law in order to be able to get the outcome that we want, because sometimes having those conversations with employees, yes, you should probably go through, a procedure, but actually sometimes sitting down and having a really good conversation with an employee and seeing the whites of their eyes and saying, look, I genuinely don't want to have to go through a capability, but I can see you're really struggling. What else is going on here? And building that rapport where people feel like they can have that conversation with you, then will hopefully stop some of these claims happening. Because also, if you feel like you're having difficulty having that conversation with your employee, the reality of it is they're probably equally feeling as difficult about it.
They've got more on it. They can lose the job.
Absolutely.
Do you know what I mean? They can lose the job, and that adds so much stress. I was speaking to somebody the other day, and he was an MD of a company, and there was a guy on the shop floor, and he was just making mistake after mistake after mistake. And they got to the point where the shop floor manager came in and said, "I can't do this anymore." He said, and when I found, he said he had type 2 diabetes. He said, so I went away, he said, and I looked into it. He said, and all the issues we were having were linked to him not eating properly. Do you know what I mean? Because he was working all the time, he wasn't eating, he wasn't drinking and everything else. So we put procedures in place, called him in and said, this is what we're doing, putting all these procedures in place. He said, and he went like that from there to there within, do you know what I mean, a couple of weeks. He said, and he was still working for us.
Yeah, absolutely. And often being able to support that employee and actually caring about them, you go from having a situation which might cost you, and this is scary, but almost every tribunal situation you get into, and especially at the moment, and I'll explain why in a moment, you're looking at £15,000 to £25,000 worth of costs at our reduced rate. If you go to a law firm, you're looking to spend twice as much.
And then you've got the payout at the end.
And you've still got the payout at the end if you lose, exactly. But even if you win the case, you lose because you've still had to pay those costs. And in employment tribunal claims, unless it's very particular type of claim where, for example, you can show it's been brought vexatiously or there are a few carve-outs, you don't get your costs back. So even if you win, you've still paid the barrister, and at the moment, an average disability discrimination claim, for example, is anywhere between 5 and 8 days. That's £12,000 worth of council's fees. Never mind your fees to be there, never mind all the lost productivity, never mind all the sleepless nights and the arguments with the wife and all of that kind of stuff that comes with worrying about a tribunal claim. And then having to put your staff on the stand to give evidence when actually they were never built for that.
No.
And, and the stress that's causing them, all of that is worth way more than the money, actually. Yeah. But at the moment, you're saying, seeing claims all in the news, almost all of the claims we've got at the moment, and we've never had so many tribunal claims. And all those tribunal claims, we're acting on behalf of the employer, and all of those employees are not legally assisted. So they're all people that are just bringing their claims on their own. One that I'm dealing with at the moment, I've had a schedule of loss in. So this is a document that says, these are all my losses, dude. All of everything I want to claim from you, all on this document, £2,000. However, I'm willing to settle for £70,000. 70,000. And that's what I said. I said, £70, that's a bargain. And then I had to explain, no, that's 70,000. Like, where did you get 70,000?
2,000 to 70,000, really?
No loss of earnings. No, there's no big issue here. But no, I'm claiming 2,000. But actually, I want 70,000 to walk away. Oh, well, that's all right. I'll just get my checkbook out then. Don't you worry. I'll sign that check away right now. And that's what you're dealing with, is that these, people, employees are not, they don't know very much about the law. Yeah. They can't afford to go and get... It's what
Bob down the pubs told them.
It is. And Bob's not been, compos mentis for years.
Yeah.
But he's happily given legal advice.
Yeah, and HR advice. Oh, and accountancy advice. He gives accountancy and tax advice.
They always do, yeah. They're always, honestly, Bob's great at tax advice. What he don't know about tax advice ain't worth knowing, dude.
I know, yeah.
Yeah. So, and I have to, and then when I have to try and explain that to the employee when I'm acting for the employer, to try and say, look, please go and get some legal advice so that you actually understand what your claim is. And it's not always that they are, that they're running a claim that's not worth anything. Sometimes there has been those blips and stuff along the way, and everyone can learn something from something. It's not everybody gets it right. We're all human. We all make mistakes. We all don't get stuff across properly. Sometimes we all make communication errors, etc., etc. But it is a real shame.
And the cost of living crisis is not going to help.
and genuinely, and in all the years of practice that I've had, I've never, ever seen this many claims. And for them all to be non-legally represented is a real first. But I think it's people who are panicking that they're out of a job, and the only way that they can make sure that they can, look after their family is by they think they're going to get some sort of settlement. And actually, employers aren't settling at the moment. They're going to tribunal, whereas previously about 97% of claims would settle before tribunal. That's not happening at the moment.
No.
And the problem is that stuff we're issuing now in the tribunal, we're getting dates for those to be heard in late 2024, early 2025. So that person and that company have got to literally live with that for years. And you don't get those years back. No. That's your life.
Yeah.
So, why do I think we're having so many claims? I think a lot of people during COVID, a lot of employers didn't get the right advice during COVID because, and these weren't people that were clients of ours, these are people that had never probably had any HR advice, panicked when they were in COVID times, thought, oh my goodness, I don't think I'm going to be able to pay these people, and ditched them as quickly as they possibly could, thinking, well, I've got to protect my business and I've got to protect, those people who I know I want to keep. So the people who had probably maybe been a problem before or unmanageable,
they saw it as a way of getting rid of them.
Absolutely. Rather than thinking, well, actually, maybe we just need to support these people a bit more. And that's where getting really good HR advice comes in. Because if you get really good HR advice at the beginning, you never need me. You just need my team, because they're all, so I do all the legal aspects, they do all the HR aspects. And if you've got somebody who's willing to come in, who can communicate properly, who can read people, it's all those soft skills that are so, so important when you're employing people, which is, why we're now getting into teaching people. So we're now doing face-to-face training sessions in groups. We're getting people to do role plays. You'll love a bit of role play, Debbie. I know you're coming along to the next one.
I couldn't do the January one because it's January and it's tax return time. I couldn't make that, but I'll definitely come to the next one.
You're going to love it. We're going to love it. We get you doing all sorts of crazy stuff.
So you can book them on Eventbrite, can't you?
Yes. They're all on Eventbrite.
So if you need some HR stuff, Eventbrite. And if you need any more than that, you know where Donna is at Sekoya. She's on all the social media platforms. And if you can't find her, then get in touch with me and I will send you the right way. Thank you so much for coming in today. It's been an absolute pleasure.
So welcome. Thank you so much for inviting us. And, as what we refer to, the Ant and Dec of podcasts. I think we should have another one about gin and chocolate, though.
That sounds. After the 1st of January, I might be on the gin and chocolate.
We just need a client who does gin now. We'll be home and dry. One who does gin and one who does chocolate. Honestly, you won't see me for a year.
So thank you guys for joining us today, and I will see you on the next one. Bye-bye.